To me, what I think age of consent is about is really, and I've said this before on the show, it's not a new take. I think what it's really about is artificially increasing the sexual marketplace value of older women. I think that's really what it's about.
I should have fucking guessed. Oh man, what a fucking poet. All right, let's talk about GAETZGATE. GAETZGATE, the least sexy scandal in human history. GAETZGATE. All right, so I'm going to engage in some self-fellatio here. Last night when I was watching Tucker Carlson interview Matt Gaetz, which I thought was a bit brazen. It's not very typical for someone to have been accused of something that dramatic and that horrifying as human trafficking as well as sex with a minor, and have them immediately be like, I can't wait to get on television and tell my side of the story immediately. Now, even before the dust had settled, this is, I guess, what you call getting ahead of the story, even though the story already broke. He went on Tucker Carlson. What preceded was perhaps one of, if not the most batshit interviews I've ever seen on Tucker Carlson, which is saying a lot. In the course of talking to Tucker, he actually ended up trying to implicate Tucker Carlson somehow in the whole thing, saying that Tucker Carlson, you've also been the victim of a sex scandal yourself. At which point Tucker Carlson was like, are you talking about how 20 years ago, someone with mental illness called into the show who I'd never met before? Because if that's the case, yes, that happened to me, but that doesn't have any relevance to what talking about right now. And then, you know, not to be detracted, Matt Gaetz was like, well, I'd also now like to bring up a story in which you, Tucker Carlson, went out for dinner with me, and I brought a guest of mine who, at the time, you may not have known this, but could be the person who's implicated in everything we're talking about, and you were at that dinner with your wife. I just want to also put that out there as a matter of record, that you and your wife attended this dinner with me, and now this individual may or may not be investigated by the FBI. Of course, to which Tucker's just like, lots of different people have different kinds of poker faces, right? Like, you would see on me, if I was sitting there and someone was saying that beside me on live television in front of millions of people on my show, I wouldn't be like, I would actually be like, wait, hold on, no, put on the brakes. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I brought you on here almost as a favor, okay? Like, also to milk you for the ratings. You're a bit of a lolcon now. But anyways, I brought you on here. Why the fuck are you bringing this up? Okay, yeah, 20 years ago, someone who had mental illness called into my TV program and then claimed that I had sex with them when I hadn't even met that individual. So these two things aren't similar. And now you're bringing up the fact that I had dinner with you and you're implicating my wife in this strange, like, no, fuck you. That would have been kind of my reaction, right? That's my natural reaction to something like that. But no, Tucker was just I don't, maybe it's a different air of professionalism. I don't know. When I saw it, it was such a thing. Like, so much had happened. It was so wild that immediately I was like, I have to draw you. You know, I was like, I have to play with this. I have to edit this. And so I edited a Serfs video last night. I haven't done it in a long time, but I figured I'd show it to all of you. So here's not only the Tucker Carlson / Matt Gaetz fiasco summarized, but also a little bit of artistic license has been taken by myself while editing this.
That was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted.
You do not know what it's like to be an African-American male.
Are you suggesting that you're certain that none of us have non-white children? Because you reflected on your black son and you said none of us could understand.
Matt, stop. I'm not about to get sidetracked about the color of our children.
It's about to be a white boy summer.
Now, if that part was confusing to all of you, and you're like, wait, what the hell is going on there? That's where Matt Gaetz revealed Nestor to the world. That's right, yeah, Nestor. Nestor's his adopted son, who apparently arrived here when he was 12, but at the time was 17, who Matt Gaetz, incidentally, has also referred to as a student, because there's actually a Facebook post, which is still up, I checked last night, in which Matt Gaetz is like, hey, just enjoying having a conversation with a couple of students, and it's a picture of a young lady and Nestor. It's wild. Matt Gaetz is just a very unusual individual. He uses, and brought up Nestor for the first time ever as a defense to the black experience, the lived experience, if you will, being called out for it, saying like, you don't quite understand this. And Matt Gaetz was like, oh, whew, do I have a card? Checkmate, libs. I happen to have a non-white son. So yeah, that's where that's from.
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon, the New York Times ran a story saying that Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under federal investigation for playing some role in sex trafficking and potentially having a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. There are very few details in major news outlets tonight about this story. We have no background on it all, and not even any very informed questions. Children, you get exchanges like that. It's disgusting.
People can look at my travel record.
So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away.
And Matt gave me a call telling me about it, and then I saw it, and I think it's kind of unfair to to tell someone that they don't understand because they don't have, because of their racial color. While he's fighting for equality, but if you tell someone to not get involved that he doesn't understand because of his color, you're kind of being a hypocrite there.
Yes.
Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official.
I'll play this up.
Tonight, I am demanding. It is a horrible allegation.
So a couple of obvious questions that come to mind, and again, just to restate, this just happened, don't have any other information beyond what we've already said and you have said. First of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. Now, I don't.
Took 2 seconds of research to find that out too. It was like, oh, David McKee, cool. Let's Google this. Oh yeah, hasn't worked for the Department of Justice in decades. But yeah, go off, King.
They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon.
I really was the only white guy they really knew.
And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago, and of course it was not true. I'd never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen, and you do see it a lot. What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her, and she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow...
Again, the poker face. This is the moment where I'd be like, okay, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing right now, Matt? Or what are you trying to do? Clearly, you'll remember. Like, his words are so careful. By the way, do you notice when he's like, so what are the accusations towards you? It's like, they are salacious. The unfounded rumors that I apparently traveled specifically in an airplane with a 17-year-old will be discovered to be false as soon as the FBI documents are released. I was like, oh shit, you've been very nicely coached on this one. Like, you know exactly what you're saying. But also this part is the bizarre one. So I assume he's trying to imply here, and I could be wrong, that Tucker Carlson had a dinner with his wife and the 17-year-old, and that everything seemed cute. And like you were fine with this back in the day. Like you didn't mention that she looked rather youngish back then, so, you know, but your wife was there, and it's a matter of public record now that your wife was there, just so we know.
I was involved in some...
Oh, she was 15 then. I guess, yeah, that's true. That's true. She would have been 15 back then. Oh, Matt.
pay-for-play scheme that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly.
He said, okay, close the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again.
I would like to know who, so they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who is this girl? What are they talking about, the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist.
Have you ever seen a ghost or experienced something paranormal?
How long has this investigation been going on? Do you know?
I don't know.
When were you first informed of it?
Again, I when people were, talking about a minor, and that they were pictures.
Okay. I know it's super masturbatory, but I'm fucking proud of that. As soon as I heard him say minor, I was like, whoa, that sounds really familiar. Minor. I'm sorry. I know it's incredibly masturbatory to be showing you something I edited yesterday and be all proud of it, but yeah.
Pictures of me with child prostitutes. That's obviously false. There will be no such pictures because no such thing happened. Concept of sex charges against me was really just a way to try to bleed my family out of money and probably smear my name because I am a well-known, outspoken conservative, and I guess that's out of style in a lot of parts of the country right now.
Matt Gaetz, I appreciate your coming on tonight.
Thanks for giving me the chance to tell the truth, Tucker. I appreciate it.
Not even an edit there. I would have the same reaction. I'm like, wow. Don't even know where to start with this one. I guess this is half you trying to fuck with me and half a gift, because holy shit, this is so goddamn weird. Like, I did not think 8 minutes ago this is where we both would be standing, but here we are. Like, here it is.
Interesting and complicated story than I knew from reading about it. Thank you very much.
So why then would I be the only no vote in the entire Congress against legislation that had human trafficking in the title? I assure you, it's not because I don't think human trafficking is a problem. It absolutely is. But far too often, the best of intentions can lead to mission creep at the federal level.
Matt Gaetz interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted.
Okay, masturbation's over. Let's watch some Nick Fuentes, everyone's favorite Fuentes.
Rethink what constitutes moral sexuality. Because we live in a society where age of consent law is the gospel. Age of consent law, if you violate that, crucify the man. Female.
Well, arrest them, really. Man or woman. I mean, it's more just the law than it is from on high.
Teachers are having sex with middle school boys all the time. Nobody cares about that. But it's a large age gap between an older man and a younger girl. God forbid. But homosexuality and trans and in between and this and that, no, but that's all perfectly okay. I think society...
Wait, what? Conflating a lot of different things there, you know?
we live in has to rethink a little bit what they believe is moral and immoral sexuality. Large age gap, 17,
What is it with conservatives, alt-right, and libertarians specifically, American libertarians? I'm looking at you. with being pedos and being okay with that, with constantly being like, oh, what's wrong with us lowering the age of consent? Hey, there's parts of Europe apparently where 15 years old it's perfectly acceptable to have a sexual relationship with a young girl. I mean, sorry, young woman at that point, because we've determined as a society that it's okay. So I don't see why we all aren't just as enlightened as they are over there. Why can't we change a couple of our own laws, you know?
I don't know that that's really a world-shattering...
13 in Italy? No way that's true. No way that 13 years old is the age of consent in Italy. No way. No way. I need facts and figures on that one. That's someone permit whoever is looking to drop that link. I'm not going to believe that upon first viewing. All of is this about Italians? Oh. It's not pedophilia, all right? It's ephebophilia. Ephebophilia, it's different, and it should be called out as such. We seem to, like broad strokes, just gonna call everyone a pedophile just because they want to have sex with a 15-year-old, okay? There's a different word for it. There's a different word for it, and a different set of standards. I'm not searching that yet, neither am I. I don't want that on my search history. That's one of the reasons. Oh God, it's in Wikipedia. Fuck me. It's 14? Italy, what are you doing, Italy? What's wrong with you? The age of consent in Italy is 14 years. With a close age and exemption that allows those aged 13 to engage in sexual activity with partners who are under the age of 18. Oh, so there's an under 18 clause there. Provided that the age gap between them is less than 3 years, the age of consent rises to 16 if one of the participants is under some kind of influence on the other, aka a teacher or an adoptive parent. They have rules for this. That's wild. They're like, okay, so how do we word this? You know, like what if I'm a parent who I want to have sex with a 14-year-old? Well, you can't. But if you wait 2 years, that's totally cool. Or if you're a teacher, you can do it when they're 16. You just gotta wait. You gotta wait for 16. Otherwise, same with Kazakhstan. Same with Kosovo. Same with Latvia. What the hell? Ireland is 17. Hungary is 14. Europe. Greece is 15. Europe. Germany is 14. Germany. I know there's Germans in chat. There's always Germans in chat. What's going on here? Georgia at 16. France is 15. Well, never mind. It's not like Italy is some kind of outrageous outlier in all this. Every single European country consent is like 14 or 15. Canada is 16? No way. All right, hold on. Croatia. Oh, this is all in Europe. All right, one sec. Age of consent in Canada. By search history. The Tackling Violent Crime Act took effect May 2008, raising the age of consent from 14 to 16. There are 2 close age exemptions depending on the age. A youth is 12 or 13 can consent to sexual activity with individuals less than 2 years older than them. Criminal law, exclusion of the jurisdiction of federal government. So the age of consent uniform throughout Canada. Section 515 of the Criminal Code of Canada makes it a crime to touch for sexual purpose under the age of 16. So the age would be 16 in Canada. The position of trust under 18 anti-exploitation rules were expanded in 2005, oh thank God, where a judge may choose a term to situation to be sexually exploited based on the nature and circumstances of the relationship. If the age is of a younger party, age difference, evolution of the relationship. Okay, so it's not just a broad brush. There are other factors involved here, okay? There are multiple factors. It's slightly better. It's slightly better. It seems like it's closer to 18, although you could say the age of consent. During the 19th century, the age of consent for heterosexual vaginal sex was 12. In 1890, the parliament raised the age of consent to 14. This punishment for anyone who had sexual intercourse with someone younger than 14 was life imprisonment and whipping. While the punishment for anyone who attempted to seduce an underage girl was 2 years imprisonment and whipping. Canada's big on whipping. Canada had also laws against seducing minor girls who were over the age of consent. In 1886, a law made enacted by the seduction of a girl who was 12 and under 16 as a previous chaste character, so if they were virgin, a criminal offense. The seduction of a female under 18 under the promise of marriage was also made illegal in 1886. Under the promise of marriage, we're gonna be like, hey, baby, I'll get married. Females under 21. Teachers can't shag their older students, but not because of the age of consent, but because of the misuse of their position. It seems like most of Europe is kind of in the 14 to 16 range. So maybe Nick Fuentes is just way ahead of the time here. Maybe he's just advocating for a freer America. He just wants America to be more European, it looks like.
I don't even know that it's necessarily immoral, other than that it was premarital. If Matt Gaetz had married her, I'd say, well, if he married her with her consent and the consent of the parents, this is completely moral. It's very traditional. And honestly, this is how it always used to be.
It's very traditional.
But what you're supposed to do, I guess, is go to college, have lots and lots of sex, and experiment and do drugs and go on your careers, and then you're supposed to get married at like 32 or something, right? I guess that's a moral way. Anyway, so that's my first reaction as I see that, and I put it on Twitter. I said 17, so what? Who cares? My other reaction is this. I don't believe the FBI. I don't believe the DOJ about anything.
You know what's wild is he's spending the first half of this talking about all the things that he finds to be depraved, right? He's like, homosexuals on one end, and on the other end we have trans individuals and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, the whole thing is him advocating to, I guess, want to fuck teenagers, right? Ultimately. Like, why can't we just have the freedom to have sex with people who are under 18, under 17, hell, under 16? Why don't we adjust these age of consent laws?
The whole age of consent thing is really a feminist social construct. I'll just put that out there. Because what are we really talking about here? Why are people so upset if somebody is 17 rather than 18? Well, that's because in the state of Florida, the age of consent is 18. It just so happens that the age of consent in Illinois is 17. And in other states, it's 16. And it varies from country to country and state to state. But if the age of...
I know a lot about the specifics, trust me. And if you are to bring a minor over state lines, that's a crime too. Hey, let me tell you about the different age of consent laws in every individual state because they apply to you depending on what you want to do at any given time. And also, it also depends on whether or not they are intoxicated. Hell, I have a whole book on the subject, trust me.
Consent is 18 in Florida, then it is the worst thing possible that you're, dating somebody that's a year younger, right? End of the world. I will say that, let's think about what's really going on here. Age of consent means...
How old is Matt Gaetz? How old is Matt Gaetz? That motherfucker, he's got to be pushing something in, I don't know. What's Beavis and Butthead years, 38. He's 38 years old. He's fucking 38 years old. Jesus. We're almost the same age. Well, Matt Gaetz, 38, 17, or technically 15 at the time of the abduction, I guess, right? If it's supposed to take place 2 years ago. Yeah, that's utterly and completely fucked. That's undefensible. Why are you trying to sully the waters here? Like, you're really trying to muddy the well by being like, oh, come on. Are we really going to talk about what happens if an 18-year-old sleeps with a 17-year-old? It's like, we're not discussing that. And in fact, that's its own conversation. Like, that to me seems okay. An 18-year-old having sex with a 17-year-old seems fine. Like, this is a 38-year-old who apparently had flown over someone who was 17 who could be 15 at the time of the story. That's way fucking worse.
The age at which an adult can consent. Do we really believe that you have to be 18 years old in order to consent to sex?
God.
Otherwise it's rape? Are we really supposed to believe that people, adults, grown adults who are past the point of puberty engage in a relationship?
People can experience puberty when they're fucking 11. What are you talking about? That's not a vector.
And that becomes a rape? To me, what I think age of consent is about is really, and I've said this before on the show, it's not a new take. I think what it's really about is artificially increasing the sexual marketplace value of older women. I think that's really what it's about.
I should have fucking guessed. Oh man, what a fucking poet. That's the thing, eh? Old broads are never gonna find a man unless they stop cutting off our age of consent laws. Once they take out all the viable 16-year-olds that I could be fucking otherwise, well, what am I left with? The fucking 17-year-old granny crones? What am I supposed to do with all the 17-year-old grandmothers? No. And then they're gonna cut away 18. Are they gonna take 18-year-olds away from us too next? Where does this end? 19-year-olds? Am I not allowed to have any fertile young women available to me? What the fuck? Marketplace value. Well, that's just so telling. That shows you exactly what he believes, though. Like, he does think of women as commodities ultimately, right? Like, how attractive you are, how fertile you are. Oh my fucking Christ. Oh, well, if that wasn't strange enough, holy shit has, in the past hour, the amount of weird stuff come out just one after the other. So I'm going to try and keep up because GAETZGATE, it would seem, has so many fantastic layers to it, it never ends. Breaking. Florida prosecutors have filed a second superseding indictment against Joel Greenberg, the Florida politician associated with the investigation into Matt Gaetz. He is now charged with embezzling $400,000 to purchase cryptocurrency for himself, wire fraud, and bribery. According to prosecutors, Greenberg set up a crypto business for himself while serving as the Seminole County tax collector and falsified transactions between the county and his business to funnel money to himself. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. Funnel money. Ooh, that one's good. It's got like three iterations. Funnel money. Ooh, that's hard. They also allege she bribed an SBA official for a CARES Act loan. Initial indictment: harassment and stalking of a political opponent. First superseding indictment: 1 charge of human trafficking, several charges of aggravated identity theft, and misuse of a driver's license info. Second superseding indictment: bribery, wire fraud. Total charges 33. Re-upping this old tweet from March 4th for no particular reason. Love that my Florida criminal case spidey senses started tingling at the right moment on this one. What's also bizarre is the lengthy list of possible misconduct by Greenberg. He also reported solicitedly an IT staffer to hack the Seminole County government in a ransomware attack and demand $500,000 in Bitcoin as a result. So all that strange. This is one of the associates that Matt Gaetz is being implicated with. LMAO, what the fuck? Representative Matt Gaetz, a Florida Republican known for his fierce allegiance to former President Donald Trump, has been under Justice Department investigation for months for possible sex crime when 2 men approached his father with a proposal. People familiar with the matter said, "Oh shit, is this actually doubling down in real time on that first story?" Okay. Well, never mind. Maybe it's not QAnon strange. Maybe this is all just happening. It's too much. It's more than anyone expected. Like, how's anyone supposed to take in this news seriously? The men had learned of the investigation. They wrote to Don Gaetz and wanted an opportunity to help his son, the people said. He could give a huge sum of money to fund their effort to locate Robert A. Levinson, the longest held American hostage in Iran, whose family said they were told he is dead. If the operation was a success, he would win favor with the U.S. government and help alleviate Matt Gaetz's legal woes? What the ever-loving fuck? Lots of good father-son intentional hijinks these past few years. Former Trump advisor Michael Flynn and his son investigated over alleged $15 million plot to kidnap Turkish cleric. Oh, nice. We're logged in. Here we are. Yeah. Okay. Representative Matt Gaetz, a Florida Republican known for his fierce allegiance to former President Donald Trump, has been under the Justice Department investigation for months for possible sex crime when 2 men approached his father with a proposal. People familiar with the matter said the men had learned of the investigation. They wrote to Don Gaetz and wanted to offer an opportunity to help his son. The people said he could give a huge sum of money to fund their effort to locate Robert E. Levinson, the longest held American hostage in Iran, whose family said they were told he is dead. If the operation was a success, he would win favor with the U.S. government and help alleviate Matt Gaetz's legal woes. Oh, these ads are fast and furious. But Don Gaetz, a prominent Florida Republican who once led the Senate, viewed the communication suspiciously, the people said. Speaking on the condition of anonymity to describe a continuing and politically sensitive probe, the investigation into Matt Gaetz's alleged crime, he's suspected of having sex with a 17-year-old girl, as well as funding her travel, was not public knowledge. Fearing his family was being extorted, Don Gaetz contacted the FBI. The messy political drama has in some ways diverted attention from a grim reality for the congressman. He remains under investigation for possible sex crimes, leaving him vulnerable to potentially serious legal jeopardy. The men who approached Gaetz' father, people familiar with the matter said, had no apparent connection to the sex crime investigation of his son, other than having somehow learned about it before it was publicly reported. But when news of law enforcement interest in Gaetz surfaced Tuesday, the congressman asserted that the allegation was rooted in an extortion effort to gain family worth $25 million. He identified his former federal prosecutor who said he was part of the effort. Okay, so I don't see anything here about the alleged sex crime thing. That could potentially still be just QAnon style stuff. While the Justice Department investigates possible sex crimes, the FBI is separately examining whether the request from his father about Levinson might constitute extortion. Gaetz and his family as possible victims. Substantiating criminal charges in the extortion probe could be difficult. People familiar with the matter said, noting that when 2 men who have not been identified first contacted Don Gaetz, they did not explicitly threaten to expose the congressman unless they were paid. Even if the investigators do come to believe there was an attempt to extort the Gaetz family, it appears connected to the sex crimes investigation only because the men involved discovered it and used it as leverage for personal purposes, people familiar with the matter said. Don Gaetz and a spokesman for Matt Gaetz did not return messages seeking comment on Wednesday. The congressman has not been charged with any crimes and he insisted he's done nothing wrong. Gaetz has told associates he's contemplating leaving Congress early, possibly for a position at Newsmax. Brian Peterson, a Newsmax spokesman, declined to comment on any discussion between Gaetz and the network, saying Newsmax doesn't comment on possible talent negotiations. Ooh, talent. The initial communication to Don Gaetz referencing the Levinson case came from 2 others. People familiar with the matter said, though McGee appeared to have had at least broad knowledge of the men's interaction with Don Gaetz. It's a blatant attempt to distract from the fact that he's under investigation for sex trafficking of minors, McGee said, the congressman allegations against him. I have no connection with that case other than one of 1,000 people who've heard the rumors. McGee declined to comment on Wednesday, but the firm issued a statement saying the congressman's allegations were false and defamatory. Levinson's case has long vexed his family and the U.S. government. The retired FBI agent disappeared under murky circumstances in March 2007 while on Kish Island, a tourist spot off the coast of Iran, during an unauthorized trip for the CIA to gather intelligence on Iran's nuclear program. He was not spotted publicly again and was last viewed alive in a 2010 hostage video. The State Department and the Justice Department offered a combined reward of $25 million for information about Levinson. The officials repeatedly pressed Iran on the matter, but last year the government concluded that he was dead, and the FBI briefed the family on the evidence they had pointing towards that result. According to Missing Men, the 2016 book about the Levinson case by New York Times reporter Barry Meyer, McGee befriended Levinson when the lawyer was working as a federal prosecutor in Florida and Levinson was serving as an FBI agent. This is still going. According to people familiar with the matter, the sex crime investigation into Gaetz grew from a different investigation into a Florida politician, former Seminole County tax collector Joel Greenberg. The exact nature of that connection is unclear. Oh, is this where we're getting back to that original story? But the investigators are exploring whether they might have had overlapping and illegal sexual contacts, people familiar with the matter said. A 2019 photograph shows that Greenberg posted on Twitter that shows him and Gaetz at the White House. Yeah, that's the picture we've all seen. He also posted a picture in 2017 of him and Gaetz and Roger Stone, another well-known Trump ally. Greenberg was charged last summer with a host of crimes, and the new one being the cryptocurrency stuff. Greenberg has been accused of abusing his access to a statewide database, using it for personal information for people whom he is a sugar daddy in relationships, including a minor he's accused of having abused, and to help produce fake identification documents to facilitate his efforts to engage in commercial sex acts. God damn. I guess lawyer up, Matt. That's all I can really say about all this so far. There's a lot of things going on here. A lot of things. More things than I know how to deal with. Oh yeah, I want to read this thing. Have you talked about the unfortunate Twitter user, Matthew Gaetz? No, I saw that yesterday though. Poor person. Matthew Gaetz, I spent all day, if you scroll down his tweets at one point, you can just see him saying, not me, this is not me, this is not me, this is not me, this is not me. Just copied, poor Matthew Gaetz. Oh no. All right. Fox News, Tucker Carlson is angered after Congressman Matt Gaetz attempted to rope him into a scandal involving allegations related to sex trafficking. It pissed me off, the person familiar with the matter explained to CNN on Wednesday. Gaetz, who has strongly denied allegations that he had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl and paid for her to travel with him, seemed to attempt to draw Carlson into the controversy during a bizarre Tuesday night interview. The Florida lawmaker first referenced the previous allegation of sexual misconduct against Carlson, which Fox News host denied, saying that he was not the only person on screen right now to have been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. Then, and more interestingly, Gaetz suggested Carlson had met the woman involved in the recent controversy related to the sex allegations. Gaetz said the woman was threatened by the FBI to tell people he was involved in a pay-to-play scheme. A person familiar with the DOJ investigation told CNN that the probe is part of a broader probe into trafficking allegations against another Florida politician. Gaetz has not been charged with a crime. You and I went to dinner 2 years ago, Gaetz told Carlson. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. Carlson immediately denied knowledge of the dinner. I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. After the interview concluded, Carlson described it as one of the weirdest he'd ever conducted. Oh, man. I'm just so happy that happened. I'm just so happy, you know? That was wild. Huh. Dude, this is good. I mean, I hope everything just keeps getting revealed, and I hope more controversies come out, and I hope the whole thing. QAnon thinks Matt Gaetz being investigated into sex trafficking is part of the plan. Oh, the Q tweet about it? For more than 3 years, QAnon followers have been waiting for the storm, the moment when high-profile lawmakers and other elites would be made to answer for their crimes of sex child trafficking. On Tuesday, it sure seemed like the storm had arrived when the New York Times broke a bombshell story that Florida Matt Gaetz was being investigated by the Department of Justice for 17-year-old trafficking. But in the hours after the news broke, QAnon followers didn't celebrate. Instead, they frantically scrambled to explain why they couldn't possibly have done what he's accused of doing. Gaetz is working with the FBI to catch an extortion racket. The deep state media is using Matt Gaetz to distract us from the recent Ghislaine Maxwell drops and information. Another user wrote the story was a smear campaign designated to undermine Gaetz' ambitions for a possible 2024 presidential ticket with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Ew, Gaetz DeSantis, ew. Our 2024 president material might be why the DOJ is trying to target him. QAnoners, it's over. The game is done, you know? Could you be a QAnoner and watch the recent QAnon, documentary on HBO? And honestly, your takeaway from that is there's still something here. Can you watch Jim Watkins or Ron Watkins, either of them, and listen to what they say and basically get accused multiple times of being Q and or just directly enabling Q, and the way they talk about it and be like, okay, Okay, yeah, this makes sense. Ron Watkins, by the way, who is accused of pedophilia himself, right? It might be over because my Q brother stopped talking about it. Nice. By the way, everybody, if you have a recovering QAnoner in your family or your friend circle or whatever, the idea after the fact that someone has been in a cult is not to push them to the point of either doing something destructive to themselves or someone else, or going into an even worse cult. Because right now their entire worldview has been completely destroyed and they're probably going to be looking for answers in other places. That's how a lot of people who went from Gamergate to Pizzagate get wrapped in. And that's how a lot of people who went from Pizzagate to QAnon got wrapped in. There's not like a direct line, like first you start here, then you become here, then you become here. But there's a whole bunch of different elements where people can pick up on those kind of things and be like, oh, yeah, here, yeah, okay, those are things. What are the odds he actually uses Q's of defense? I don't know. Holy shit. Like... I think Gaetz is in so much fucking trouble. Like, it's astounding to me that he's going along for this. Matt Gaetz possesses text message screenshots, an email, and a typed document that purportedly support his claims that a federal investigation into a relationship with a 17-year-old is related to an extortion scheme against him, says the Washington Examiner. Cool. Cool. Matt produced receipts. All right, well, let's see them. Screenshots provided to the Washington Examiner show a message that his father, Don Gaetz, a former Florida State Senate representative, said he received on Kent from March 16th. The message proposes the plan can make Matt Gaetz' future legal and political problems go away. Mr. Gaetz, I would like to talk to you immediately about the current federal investigation and the indictment that is about to be filed against your son. I have a plan that can make his future legal and political problems go away. Last summer, we located Robert Evanson in Iran, and we took proof of live videos that the U.S. government has foiled our rescue attempts. We have more opportunity to rescue Levinson. If you and Matt are willing to help us privately and clandestinely obtain the release of Robert Levinson, I will ensure part of the evidence provided. Here's Matt's little fingers as he's pushing down on this Project Homecoming. The facts of Project Homecoming are described below. Congressman Matt Gaetz is currently under investigation by the FBI for various like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the receipts. I could write this up right now. I could print one of these out. Is that going to be damning evidence against Matt Gaetz if I print out a piece of paper, give it a kind of foreboding name at the top, and then hold it down with my 3 fingers? The FBI became aware of compromising pictures depicting Congressman Gaetz, an election official involved in a sexual orgy with underage prostitutes in mainland Florida during an unrelated investigation into political corruption and public integrity. In another criminal case, subsequent information has resulted in Congressman Gaetz becoming the target of a minor investigation into serious underage sex trafficking, political corruption, public integrity, and other criminal allegations against Congressman Gaetz and others. Yeah, this is a statement. This reads like a statement written by Matt Gaetz. This isn't evidence. This is not a receipt. Stephen A. Alford, Captain Consultants. This is a business card. This is a fucking Washington Examiner. This is a business card. Okay, here we go. We have some redacteds. Goldberg David, subject Matt Gaetz. Okay, we have. Okay. Text. Counsel. I can confirm that your client is working with my office as well as the FBI at the government's request in order to determine if a federal crime has been committed. This has been discussed with, approved by the FBI, as well as the leadership of my office and components of Main Justice. The government thanks you for working cooperatively with the FBI. David L. Goldberg. What do you think this is absolving you of? Is that it? Jesus. Man, the bar is low. I want to start doing this. I want to start being able to do this. Can I just suddenly say whatever I want and then send it to the Washington Examiner and then do a couple prints give them a business card and then be like, okay, well, yeah, this definitively proves exactly what Lance is talking about. Clearly, if you see the printout with the 3 fingers that he's folded over himself and then the redacted letters that, sorry, the one-way text message, of course, yes. Definitive proof. Here we are. Conclusively, the story's over, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like, just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks, why do older generations believe the things they believe? One of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our glorious gods, Xander Corvus and I'm Rav, may you shower us with glory and smite our enemies. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we serve at your leisure, your grace. To our lords, Tofox, Bisexual Black Gamer, Jimothy K. Meeble Beeps Jr., Ryan Lubin, Trevor R., Jeffrey Lamb, Alexander Thaler, and Hans Josephine, we shall carry your banner high into the fields of battle. To our Knights of the Round Table, Timothy Hart, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophagic, Saren 42, Chronic de Hemphog, Kale Kotka, The Great Pudini, Bone Jenny, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, J. Fraser Cartwright, Thomas Barrington, Jimmy Bignuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chitoro, Goofalankius, Zach Christensen, Nicholas Marks, Yopi, Josh Mickelson, Melissa Murphy, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Constance Joyce Lacheris. We lift our glasses of ale and we salute you.